Hi, so for this lesson, we will be talking about solving proportions, and our goal is to solve and apply, oops, sorry, my bad, to solve and apply proportions. I was trigger happy over there, sorry. Okay, so what is a proportion? A proportion is actually an equation that states that two ratios are equal. Now, if you would remember, when we talk about ratios, we are comparing two different quantities. Okay, so you have a proportion wherein quantity A over quantity B is going to be equal to another quantity that is similar to quantity A over another ratio with a quantity similar to the quantity B. Okay, so in proportion, one thing that is very important is that the two ratios should follow the order of the quantities being compared. All right. Now, there are some ways on how you can solve a proportion. So for this particular problem, we will be using the multiplication property. Okay, so in this case, we have what is the proportion, what is the solution of the proportion 7 over 8 equals m over 12. So let me just copy it over here. 7 over 8 equals m over 12. Now, if you would remember when we talked about solving equations, we want to isolate the variable, correct? So that is what we would like to do. So our variable m needs to be isolated, but unfortunately, it is linked with divided by 12. So how can we remove divided by 12? Using the inverse operation, which is times 12, okay? So we multiply the right side by 12. We also multiply 7 over 8 by 12. And so what will we have here? 12 divided by 12, that's going to be 1. So the denominator 12 will now be canceled out. So 12 times 7, that's going to be 84. The denominator is just 8. And that is the value of our m. Now remember, if you have fractions, always try your best to have it in the simplest form. So 84 over 8, both of them could be divided by 4. And so you will have 21 over 2 as the value of m. Now sometimes Math Excel would ask you to write your answer in fraction form, simplified fraction, or sometimes it will ask you to write it in decimal form. So if the question says write in decimal form, 21 over 2 is going to be equal to 10.5. Okay? So let's try out this next example. Same thing. So find the value of x when you have the proportion x over 7 is equal to 4 over 5. Go ahead, do this one now. So for this proportion, you will be able to get the value of x as 28 over 5. All right, let's have the next example. Oops, sorry, my mouse is hanging there. Okay, so the other method, and I would say this is, I would say you are more familiar with this method if you have done proportion in your middle school, and that is when you are doing the cross product property. Okay, so cross products of proportions are equal. Okay, so that's the cross product property. Okay, so how do we work this out? So let's have our example. We have 4 over 3. Okay, let's copy that one over here. 4 over 3 is equal to 8 over x. So the cross product that we are talking about is the product of a numerator and a denominator, and they have to be on different ratios. Okay, so we are talking about the product of 4 and x. Okay, so you multiply 4 and x, that will be 4x, and that should be equal to the product of 8 and 3. Okay, you multiply these two numbers here. 8 times 3 is going to be 24. And so solving our variable x here, which is attached to multiply by 4, we simply have to divide by 4 to cancel this one. 24 will also be divided by 4, and so our x is going to be equal to 6. Okay, now you would also notice, I know that this is not part of the cross products description here, but if you would notice over here, okay, if ever you have noticed a specific value as a pattern from one ratio to the other, you can skip the cross product and identify that value of x. What do I mean by that? So if you're going to take a look, the ratio originally has 4 in the numerator, it became 8, right? So what did you do from 4 to get an 8? Okay, so 4 needed to be multiplied by 2. Yes, so where is that? Oops, sorry. So it had to be multiplied by 2 to get 8. So since the numerator was multiplied by 2, you can also do that to your denominator, so times 2. And 3 times 2 will be the denominator of 8 here. And what is 3 times 2? That is going to be 6. And as you can see, it is exactly the same value that we got when we did our cross product. Okay, now this technique that I have just shown you, wherein you are observing the pattern, does not work all the time, because sometimes you will not be able to find a specific multiplier or divisor to convert one number to the other. Okay, so your cross product will always be your go-to method. Okay, so try this next example on your own. Go ahead. So as you can see here, if you multiply using the cross product, you will have 5y is equal to 9, and solving for y will be equal to 9 over 5.